I knew something was wrong before I turned onto the block. The neighbors were watching, not talking, not moving, just watching. That kind of watching only happens when something has already gone too far. Then I saw my father's truck, parked wrong, door open, engine off, like he had stopped in the middle of something. I turned the corner and saw my life in the street: clothes, shoes, books, a broken box spilling into the gutter, everything soaked, dirty, spread wide enough to make sure it couldn't be ignored. This wasn't an accident. I stopped. Just for a second, long enough to understand this was intentional. Then I saw him. My father stood in the driveway, phone in his hand, filming, smiling, not angry, not shouting, smiling, like this had already worked. Make sure he doesn't come back. He didn't say it to me. He said it to someone behind him, calm, casual, like I wasn't standing there, like I wasn't his son. No one spoke. The neighbors stayed still. That silence made it real, because once people watch something like that without reacting, it becomes accepted. I walked forward, slow, past my clothes, past the broken boxes, past everything that used to belong inside that house. I didn't shout, didn't react, because he was filming, and men like him don't want truth. They want footage. I wasn't giving him that. I bent down, picked up a shirt, wet, useless, dropped it. He laughed. "Go on," he said. "Take your trash." Trash. That was the story now. Not son, not family, just something removed. I kept moving, not fast, not slow, just enough to stay in control of something. Then I saw it. One box, still intact, dry, sealed. Everything else had been torn open, soaked, destroyed. This one, untouched, wrong. I stepped closer. The tape was clean, no damage, no water, no dirt. And on the side, his name, my father's name. I stopped, not visibly, just enough. Because in a street full of destruction, order stands out. And this wasn't part of the same act. This wasn't thrown, it was placed. My father saw me looking. His smile changed, just slightly, less confident, more alert. "Don't touch that. Too fast. Not anger, instinct." I looked at him, then back at the box. Everything else in the street was meant to humiliate me. That box was meant to stay hidden, and that meant one thing. The worst thing he did that night wasn't throwing my life into the street. It was the one thing he tried to protect from me. "Don't touch that." He said it too fast, too clean. Like it didn't go through thought. I didn't move, not yet. Because now, this wasn't about the clothes anymore, not the neighbors, not the street, just that box. The only thing he didn't destroy. I looked at him, phone still up, still filming. But different now. Less performance, more attention. He wasn't showing them anything anymore. He was watching me, watching what I had seen. That changed everything. Because if a man is willing to humiliate you in public, but still protect one thing from you, that thing matters more to him than what he's doing to you. I stepped closer, not fast, just enough. He shifted his weight, small but real. That was the first crack. "Leave it," he said. "Lower now, not for them, for me." I didn't answer, didn't look away, just kept walking. The neighbors were still watching. Of course they were. But something had changed. Before, they were watching me. Now, they were watching him. Because they could feel it too. That this part wasn't part of the show. I crouched down, close enough now to see the details. The tape, clean, straight, pressed evenly. Not rushed, not careless, intentional. Everything else in the street had been thrown. This had been handled. I ran my hand along the edge, dry, completely dry. That meant it hadn't been sitting here long. That meant he placed it last. After everything else, after the performance, after the damage. He made sure this stayed intact. Don't. This time, he stepped forward. Just one step, but enough. Enough that the neighbors noticed. Enough that the silence shifted. That's when I knew. He wasn't protecting the box from damage. He was protecting it from me. I straightened slowly, looked at him. Really looked. He wasn't smiling anymore, not fully, not the same way. There was something else now. Tension, controlled, but there. You don't get to go back inside, he said, still trying to hold the script, still trying to keep this about control. I nodded once. I'm not trying to. That threw him, just slightly. Because now, I wasn't playing the role he had set up. I wasn't arguing, wasn't begging, wasn't reacting. I was looking, and that's harder to control. I looked back at the box, then at his phone, still recording, still pointed at me. But now, it didn't matter, because whatever this was, it wasn't for them. It was for me. I bent down again. Slower this time, no hesitation. My fingers touched the tape. He moved, fast. Don't open that. There it was, not leave it, not don't touch it, don't open it. That's when everything locked in, because now, it wasn't about distance. It was about what was inside, and more importantly, what I would understand if I saw it. I didn't open it, not yet. I just held it, lifted it slightly. He stepped closer, another step, closer than before, too close for someone who had just thrown me out. The neighbors saw that too. They didn't move, but they were watching differently now, because now they weren't watching humiliation. They were watching something they didn't understand. Put it down, he said, quieter, more controlled, but tighter. I shook my head. No. That was the first time I had said anything that mattered, and it landed, hard, because now, for the first time that night, he wasn't in control of what happened next. Not the street, not the audience, not the story, just that box. And me. I looked at him again. You protected this. Not a question. A statement. He didn't answer. Didn't need to. Because his silence said everything. I tightened my grip slightly. Not aggressive, just enough. Enough to show I understood. The neighbors were still there, still watching. But now, they didn't matter because the performance was over. And whatever this was, it had nothing to do with them. I thought the worst part of that night was what he did in front of everyone. I was wrong. The worst part was realizing the only thing he tried to protect from me was the truth, and it was sitting in my hands. I didn't rush. That mattered, because the moment you rush, you give them control back. I held the box steady, felt the weight, not heavy, but not empty. That told me something. Whatever was inside was chosen, not random, not thrown in, placed, carefully. I ran my thumb along the tape, still dry, still perfect. He stepped closer. Don't. Quieter now, not for them, for me. That made it worse, because men like him don't lower their voice unless something matters. I didn't look at him. Not anymore. If I did, this would turn back into a scene. I kept my eyes on the box, on the seam, on the one line he didn't want me to cross. I lifted one edge of the tape, slow, deliberate. It peeled clean, no resistance. That surprised me. For something he protected, it should have fought back. It didn't. That meant one thing. It wasn't sealed to keep me out. It was sealed to control when I got in. The tape came off. The street stayed silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the neighbors, still, waiting. I opened the flaps, looked inside, and stopped. Not because I didn't understand, because I did. Too fast, too clearly. Inside the box were files, neatly stacked, bound, organized, not old, not damaged, prepared. I reached in, pulled one out, my name, printed clean across the top. Below it, records, accounts, transfers. numbers that didn't belong to me, money I had never seen, signatures that looked like mine, but weren't. My father moved again, closer, too close now. Put that back. No calm left, no performance, just control breaking. I turned the page, more documents, more proof, more of a life I had never lived, but was about to be blamed for. That's when it clicked, not slowly, all at once. The clothes, the street, the neighbors, the filming. None of it was the real point. That was just the setup. This was the story. A public removal, followed by a private explanation. One where I wasn't just thrown out, I was exposed, made into something else, something illegal, something disposable, something easy to cut off. I looked up at him. He wasn't smiling anymore, not even close. There was something else now. Urgency, controlled panic, the kind he couldn't hide fast enough. "You think this fixes you?" I asked. First real question, first real shift. He didn't answer, didn't deny it, didn't even try. That told me everything. Because if it wasn't true, he would have said it. Loud, clear, for the neighbors, for the camera, but he didn't. Because now, the story had changed. Not for them. For me. I look back at the documents. Every page fit too clean, too aligned, too ready. This wasn't something he found. This was something he built, piece by piece, over time, waiting, for the moment he could place it in my hands and make it look like it had always been mine. I closed the file, slow, careful, because now, speed didn't matter. Clarity did. "You didn't throw me out," I said. Not loud, not emotional, just true. "You replaced me." That landed, harder than anything else, because now, he wasn't the man removing a problem. He was the man creating one, and I had proof, in my hands. The neighbors were still watching, but they weren't watching me anymore. They were watching him, because something had changed. The scene didn't make sense anymore. The story didn't hold. And once a story breaks in public, it doesn't recover. I held the box tighter, not defensive, not aggressive, just certain, because for the first time that night, I wasn't the one being exposed, he was. I thought the worst thing he could do was throw my life into the street. I was wrong. The worst thing was handing me the truth he thought I'd never understand, and realizing, too late, that I did. "Give me that." He said it like an order, not a request, not even a warning, an assumption. Like everything up to this point had already proven I would do what he said. I didn't move, not back, not forward, just enough to stay exactly where I was, holding it. That was new, because my father doesn't deal with resistance. He removes it, controls it, frames it, but he doesn't stand in front of it without a script. And right now, he didn't have one. He stepped closer, too close, close enough that the neighbors could see this wasn't part of the show anymore. "Give it to me," he said again, lower, tighter. I shook my head. No. That word changed the entire street. Not loud, not dramatic, but final. Because this time, it wasn't silence, it wasn't avoidance, it wasn't survival, it was refusal, and he felt it. You can always tell when control slips. It doesn't explode, it cracks. His jaw tightened, his grip on the phone shifted, just slightly, but enough, because now, he was holding two things he couldn't control at the same time, the story, and me. "You don't understand what that is," he said. That was his first mistake. Because the moment someone tells you you don't understand, they've already admitted you're close. "I understand enough," I said. I lifted one page, just slightly, not to show him, to show them. The neighbors leaned in, not physically, but you could feel it. The attention shifted, focused, no longer passive, curious. That's dangerous, because curiosity breaks narratives. "What is that?" someone asked. Not loud, but clear. That was the second crack, because now this wasn't contained. It had spread. My father turned slightly, just enough to acknowledge the voice, but not enough to lose control of the angle. "Nothing," he said quickly, too quickly. "Just paperwork." That didn't land. Not anymore. Because if it was nothing, he wouldn't be standing that close. He wouldn't be filming. He wouldn't be telling me not to touch it. And he definitely wouldn't be trying to take it back. I held the page higher, not dramatic, not aggressive, just visible. My name, clear, printed, that's all it took. Another shift. Stronger this time. Because now they had something concrete. Not just clothes, not just a fight, something structured, something that didn't match the story he had built. "You set this up," I said. Not a question. A line, clean. He shook his head, fast. "No." But it didn't carry. No weight, no authority. Because now, he wasn't speaking into agreement. He was speaking into doubt. And doubt is louder than silence. "You're lying," he added. That was the third mistake. Because now, he had escalated from control to defense. And once someone defends, they've already lost position. I didn't argue, didn't explain, didn't try to prove anything. I just flipped another page, more numbers, more signatures, more structure, all too clean, all too ready. The neighbors saw it. They didn't understand it, not fully, but they didn't need to, because they understood one thing. This didn't look like trash. This didn't look like chaos. This looked like intention. And intention changes everything. My father stepped forward again, faster this time, hand reaching, not for me, for the box. I moved just enough, not back, sideways, out of his reach. That was it. That was the moment, because now he had to choose, push further, and break the scene completely, or stop and lose it quietly. He stopped. Just a fraction, but enough, because he knew. If he forced it now, he wouldn't just lose control, he would expose everything. The phone in his hand lowered slightly, not by choice, by weight, because the performance was over. There was nothing left to record that would help him, only things that would hurt him. And he knew it. I stood there, box in my hands, pages visible, not shouting, not accusing, not reacting, just holding the truth he had tried to bury inside my humiliation. And that's what broke it. Not force, not anger, not revenge, clarity. Because once something becomes clear, no one can pretend they didn't see it. I thought the moment he threw my life into the street was when he lost control. I was wrong. He lost it here. When he realized the one thing he tried to hide was now the only thing anyone could see. "You stole that." He said it fast, too fast, like the sentence had been waiting. Wrong move. Because now, he wasn't controlling the story. He was chasing it. I didn't react, didn't argue, just looked at him. That made it worse. Because when you don't defend, they have nothing to push against. He stepped forward again, closer, more aggressive now. "You broke in," he said. "You took documents that don't belong to you." Louder, for them, not for me. He was rebuilding, fast, desperate, trying to pull the scene back into something simple, a problem son, a justified father, a clean removal, but the timing was off, too late, because the moment I opened that box, the story had already changed. I flipped another page, slow, visible, letting it sit in the air, letting them see this wasn't something grabbed in panic. It was organized, prepared, placed. "You printed this," I said, calm, flat, certain. He didn't answer, didn't deny it, didn't even try this time. That told them more than anything I could have said. The neighbors weren't silent anymore. not fully. You could hear it. Small movements, shifts, a voice under breath, confusion replacing certainty. That's what breaks a scene, not noise, uncertainty. My father heard it too. Of course he did. That's when he changed again. Another version, another attempt. This is what happens, he said, looking at them now, not me. When you try to help someone and they turn on you. There it was, the new story, cleaner, safer, a victim father, a difficult son, a misunderstanding. He wasn't trying to win anymore. He was trying to survive it, but it didn't land, not the way he needed it to. Because now, they had seen too much. The box, the papers, his reaction, the shift. You can't unsee structure once it's exposed. I closed the file, not hiding it, ending that part. Because now, I didn't need more proof. I already had control. You filmed this, I said. I nodded toward his phone. He didn't answer, didn't raise it again, didn't reposition, just held it. Lower now, useless. That wasn't for them, I said. I glanced at the neighbors, then back at him. That was for later. That landed because now he knew I understood the full shape, not just the setup, the purpose. He wasn't just removing me. He was documenting it, framing it, building something he could use after. And I had just said it out loud, without raising my voice, without making it dramatic, without giving him anything to push back against. That's what made it dangerous, because now he couldn't argue it. He could only stand there and let it sit. And it did. Heavy, visible, unavoidable. The street felt different now. Not tense, not loud, clear. Like everyone there had stepped out of the version of the scene he had tried to build. And now, no one knew exactly what it was anymore, except me. I picked up the box, fully this time, not testing, not hesitating, holding it like it belonged to me, because now, it did. Not the contents, the control. My father didn't reach for it again. That told me everything, because the moment someone stops trying, it's over. Not loudly, not officially, but completely. I stepped past him, not fast, not slow, just enough to make the movement final. He didn't stop me, didn't speak, didn't follow, because now there was nothing left he could do without making it worse, and he knew it. The neighbors moved, finally, not toward me, not toward him, away. Because once something becomes real, people don't stay to watch it finish. They leave, quietly. Like they were never part of it. I reached my car, opened the door, set the box on the passenger seat, closed it, didn't look back, not at the clothes, not at the street, not at him, because the scene was over, not the story, just that part of it. I thought the worst thing he could do was throw me out. I was wrong. The worst thing was believing he could control what happened after, and realizing too late that he couldn't. I didn't drive far, just far enough to leave the street behind, not far enough to forget it. I parked under a dim light, engine off. Silence. The box sat beside me, untouched now, heavy in a different way. Not because of what was inside, because of what it meant. My phone buzzed. I didn't need to look. I already knew. His name. Of course. I let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. Then I answered. I didn't speak. He did. Bring it back. No greeting, no explanation, just control, or what was left of it. I leaned back in the seat, looked at the windshield. Dark, still. No, that was it. Silence on the other end, short, tight. You don't know what you're doing, he said, same tone as before, trying to rebuild authority, trying to step back into position. But something had changed. I could hear it, a slight break, a gap between the words, like he was choosing them more carefully now. That's what fear sounds like when it doesn't want to be noticed. I know enough, I said, not louder, not sharper, just clear. He exhaled, slow, measured. "You think this makes you safe?" he said. Wrong direction, because now he wasn't telling me what to do. He was asking a question he already didn't like the answer to. I looked at the box, resting there, quiet. "You didn't protect it from me," I said. Pause. "You protected yourself." That landed. Silence again, longer this time. He didn't interrupt, didn't correct, didn't deny. That told me everything, because denial is the first thing people reach for when they still think they can win. He had skipped it. "You need to listen carefully," he said. Lower now, controlled, but different. This wasn't for the street. This wasn't for anyone else. This was just him. "There are things in there you don't understand," he said. "I can fix this." Fix. That word changed everything, because now he wasn't controlling the situation. He was negotiating with it, and that meant he had already lost it. "You already did," I said, quiet. "You built it." He didn't answer, couldn't, because that was the part he couldn't rewrite, not anymore. "You bring that to anyone," he said, voice tightening. "You destroy yourself too." There it was, not control, not authority, fear, shared consequences. That's the move people use when they don't have power left. They make the fall mutual. They turn truth into risk. They make exposure feel like damage to both sides. But that only works if the other person still believes they are on the same side. I didn't. "Then you shouldn't have put my name on it," I said. Clean, final, no emotion, no escalation, just truth, and truth, when it's that simple, has nowhere to go. The line stayed quiet, no breath, no movement, nothing. Then, a small shift. "You don't understand how far this goes," he said. And that's when I knew, not because of what he said, because of how he said it. He wasn't warning me. He was warning himself about what I might do next. I looked at the box again, still closed, still waiting. But now, it didn't feel like something he had prepared. It felt like something he had lost control of. And I was holding it. I reached over, pulled one document out, held it in my hand, not reading, not yet, just feeling it. The weight, the paper, the structure, real, solid, unchangeable. "You already went too far," I said. That ended it. Not the call, the balance, because now there was nothing left for him to say that would put him back above me. He knew it. I knew it. The silence confirmed it. Then he hung up. No final word, no threat, no control, just gone. I sat there, phone in my hand, box beside me, street behind me, and for the first time that night, everything was quiet, not tense, not heavy, clear. Because the moment he hung up, I understood something completely. He wasn't trying to control what I would do. He was trying to limit it. And that meant whatever came next was mine. I thought the worst part of that night was being thrown into the street. Then I thought it was what he had built. I was wrong. The worst part was realizing he had already done everything he could, and now he had to wait to see what I would do with it. I didn't send anything. That was the first move. No calls, no messages, no copies, no reactions. I went home, not his house, mine, small, quiet, mine. I set the box on the table, didn't open it again, didn't read deeper, just left it there, because now it wasn't about what was inside. It was about what I would do with it, and I chose nothing. At first, that's what broke him. My phone didn't stop. Calls, texts, unknown numbers, familiar ones. People who never called before. People who suddenly needed to check in. I didn't answer. Not yet. Because silence does something most people underestimate. It removes predictability. And without predictability, control disappears. The next morning, he called again. I let it ring, then stop. then ring again. Longer this time, more urgent. Still, I didn't answer. That's when the messages changed. From commands to questions. Where are you? Who have you talked to? Call me back. No more orders, only uncertainty. That told me everything. Because the moment someone starts asking questions, they've already lost the position they were speaking from before. I made coffee, sat at the table, looked at the box, still there, still quiet, still doing its job, without me touching it. That's the part he didn't understand. He thought the danger was exposure. It wasn't. The danger was waiting, because every minute I didn't act, he had to imagine what I might. That's heavier than any consequence. The third day, he came to the door, not announced, not expected, just there. I saw him through the window, standing still. No phone, no audience, no performance, just him. That was new. I opened the door, didn't invite him in, didn't step outside, just enough space to speak. "You're not answering," he said. Not angry, not calm, something in between, unstable. "I know," I said. That landed. Because now, everything was intentional, everything was chosen. He looked past me, into the room, at the table, at the box. He saw it. Of course he did. And that's when it hit him. Not the documents, not the risk, the position. I hadn't used it. I hadn't exposed him. I hadn't reacted, which meant I could, at any time, without warning, without pattern, without control. That's when his posture changed. Slightly, but enough. "Let's talk," he said. Not command, request. That was the shift. Complete. I shook my head. There's nothing to talk about. Simple, flat, final. That made him step closer. Not aggressive, careful, measured. Like he was approaching something that might break. "You don't understand how serious this is," he said. I held his gaze. "I do." And that ended the argument. Because now, he knew I wasn't guessing. I wasn't reacting. I wasn't confused. I understood. And I still wasn't moving. That's what broke him. Not exposure, not confrontation, stillness. Because stillness gives the other person nothing to work with. No angle, no timing, no control. He looked at the box again, then back at me. And for the first time, he didn't try to take it, didn't try to argue, didn't try to explain. He just stood there, realizing the only thing he had left was waiting. The same thing he had forced me into my whole life. Now, it was his turn. I thought the moment I opened the box was when everything changed. I was wrong. It changed here, when I didn't use it. Because once someone knows you can end them, and you choose not to, they don't feel safe. They feel owned. And there's nothing more unstable than a man who realizes he no longer controls the outcome. He left first, not me. He stood there a moment longer, like he was waiting for something else to happen, for me to say more, to change my mind, to step back into something familiar. I didn't. I just stood there, door half open, room quiet, box still on the table behind me, untouched. That's what he looked at last, not me. The box, because now that was the center, not him, not the house, not the street, that. And it wasn't in his control anymore. He nodded once, small, uncertain, then turned, walked away. No last word, no warning, no version of himself that could still hold position. Just gone. I closed the door. Slow, no rush, no tension, just final. I didn't follow, didn't watch him leave, didn't check the window, because I didn't need to. For the first time, I didn't need to track him to understand what came next. I went back to the table, sat down, looked at the box, same place, same weight, same quiet, but it felt different now. Not dangerous, not urgent, resolved, because it had already done what it was supposed to do. Not expose him, shift everything. I opened it again, not to search, to confirm. The documents were still there, neat, clean, complete. Everything he had built, everything he had tried to place on me, still intact, still usable, still power. I closed it, not fast, not careful, just enough. Because I didn't need to look at it anymore. I understood it, and that was enough. My phone buzzed. A message, not from him, from someone else. Short, simple. "He's asking about you." I read it once, then set the phone down. No reply, no follow-up. Because the question didn't matter, only the position, and the position had changed. Completely. Not because I fought him, not because I exposed him, not because I proved anything. Because I didn't. I didn't react, I didn't rush, I didn't give him a direction. And without direction, he had to face something he had avoided his entire life. Uncertainty. That's what breaks people like him. Not consequences, not truth, not even loss. Uncertainty. The not knowing, the waiting, the lack of control over what happens next. I stood up, picked up the box, not heavy, not light, just mine. I moved it. From the center of the table to the side. I removed it from the center because I didn't need it there anymore. It had already done its job. The house was quiet. No noise, no tension, no pressure, just space. Clean, clear, unclaimed. I thought the worst thing he did was throw my life into the street. Then I thought it was what he built inside that box. I was wrong. The worst thing was believing he could control what I would do with it. Because in the end, I didn't destroy him. I didn't expose him. I didn't even confront him. I just took control of what happened next. And once I did, he had to live inside that uncertainty, not knowing if today was the day, or tomorrow, or never. And that is heavier than anything I could have done to him. Because I didn't take anything from him. I left him with everything, including the fear of when it might finally be taken away.